After completing new functions, we have very interesting topic for this week, that is data tab. So what we have in the data tab, we can actually import the data from various data sources from this data tab option. So how we can do that? In the data tab, we have the option get and transform data. So with this option, what we can do, we can use or we can have the data import we can do from various sources. And these sources can be, it can be CSV file, it can be text file, it can be any folder as well, or in fact from any other kind of database as well. So you have two options now, load and transform. So you can directly load the data from these two sources, or in fact, you can do some kind of analysis, some kind of transformation also. So both the things are allowed with Microsoft Excel. So we can load the data as well as we can transform the data. So when we are talking about loading option, we can load the data from table, we can load it from any connection. In fact, we can have data from any pivot also. So how we can get the data from other sources? For that, we need to go to the this data tab. This is shown in picture here. From that data tab, we have this get data, and from there, you need to choose that particular source from where you want to have the data with you in that particular file. So this is get data. You can see some options here from file. You can have it from any workbook. You can have it from text or CSV file. You can have it from any XML file, or maybe from a JSON file, from a folder, from a SharePoint folder. So there are different options available. Now it is your choice, or it is requirement of your project or your client's request. Accordingly, you can have data into Microsoft Excel from various sources. In fact, you can go with this from database option as well, from Azure as well, from online source services as well, from other sources as well, and we have some combined queries as well. We can get it from here. You can see it again. So these options are also available for text and CSV. So this is get and transform data, and we are talking about this get and transform data in this week. We will be covering everything written in this data tab, all the ribbons here. So then from where you can have the data from table and the range, you can have it from some recent sources as well, and you can have it from existing connections as well. So let's start this data transformation. I'll be opening my Microsoft Excel workbook. Let's go back to the same financial sample. This time, now I will be going to a new sheet. Let me take a new sheet, and here, maybe you are at Home tab. There, from there, you can go to Data tab. And in Data tab, you can see this Get Data option. You have some other options also. If we read the description given by Microsoft Excel, easily discover, connect and combine data from multiple sources, then shape and refine it to meet your needs. So you can actually play with data, and this time data is from different sources as well. So if you click on that, as we have seen in the screenshot as well in the slide, so in this screenshot, what is written? Just see that all the options carefully. If I click on from file, I have other subheadings for that, that is from workbook, from text CSV, from XML, from JSON, from PDF, and from folder as well. If I hover my mouse on this option, I'll get the description about that, that is import data from Microsoft Excel workbook. If I go to this text CSV, import data from a text, comma separated, that is for the full form for CSV, common separated value, or formatted text where space delimited file is used, or you can have it from XML file, you can have it for a JSON data, and from PDF also you can import the data. And if you want to go for a particular folder where metadata or links is given, that folder also can be taken here. Then in the second option, we have the option from different databases as well. You can actually use SQL Server database also in your Microsoft Excel. We have some data connection for that, and after once the connection is established, we can access the database from Microsoft Excel through these databases. So option is available for SQL Server. It is available for Microsoft Access database as well, from analysis services, from SQL Server analysis services database, and with the option. The latest thing is with the Azure. From Azure Data Explorer, you can have the data in Microsoft Excel. Some other sources are also written. These sources are like you are getting data from any other source, that is another table in Microsoft only. And from web also you can have that data, from Microsoft Query as well, from OData feed, from ODBC connection, from OLDB connection, and from a blank query as well. So we'll read about that. Before that, let's try how we can get the data from a CSV file. So I'm not opening anything from any workbook or something. So it's easy to take the data from another workbook, or it's easy to take the data from Microsoft Excel. In this exercise, what we are going to try, we will be playing with the text file, how we can convert the text file into CSV, or maybe if the CSV file into a Microsoft Excel data. I'll click on that. So I have some text files with me in my folder, and you will be provided with all these notepads, all these text editors you will be getting here. So first I'm opening this birth king country 2001. So this data has been taken from internet. It is freely available and same will be provided to all of you. I have just clicked on OK. It is taking some processing time. You can see here. Now this file origin is given here. I am not changed anything. I just clicked on OK. Nothing else I have done. I have something as a delimiter. I will not be changing anything here. Data type detection. So by default or automatically, Microsoft Excel is trying to recognize each column with respect to data type. So how it is doing? So how it is detecting the data type? It is based on the first 200 rows. It is based on the entire data set, or do not detect data types. So by default, what I am getting as an option, I'm getting as an option based on first 200 rows. Secondly, I can go it for the entire data set as well. So this you can see preview is evaluating, it is taking time for that. I can go with the do not detection option as well. Again, preview is evaluating. Whatever you are seeing here, this is known as the preview of the data set. This is basically you are loading the data. Now you have two options. Either you can load the data or transform the data. If I choose to load the data, that time I'm not changing anything. I'm just having that data as it is in my Excel file. I'm not doing any kind of transformation over there. I'm just going with the flow. With two for the brief introduction of this load and transform, what we will cover first, we will cover load first, and then we will come to transform data, and that will be done by the Power Query. Power Query we will be learning in next few minutes. So before that, we need to able to understand all the basics thing that is involved with the loading of the data. So in the loading of the data, what Microsoft Excel is doing, it is automatically detecting all the delimiters. So delimiter was the space given. Let me open this file first so that you should be understanding what is there available in the text file. So I'll be going to my same folder where these text files are given here. Let me open that. So I'm opening this file birth king country 2001. Let me click on that. So if I'm opening that, you can see the data here. Now everything is based in a text. There is no form like tabular, no rows and columns exist here. First you can see here, first is written F, then 1, 31 Hispanic 4131800010 122 22 540. So how Excel is taking it as a table. So what it did, it actually identified the spaces here. So it consider it a different columns. So according to the space here, how many columns we have? We have, let me count it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Based on these delimiter, Microsoft Excel is able to identify different 16 columns, and accordingly it picked the data for multiple rows into Microsoft Excel. Now you can see that we have this file. Now just imagine the case that there is this option is not available. Now you have the data in the text file and you need to do some kind of an analysis. You need to have a pivot table, you need to have a pivot chart, or some kind of graphs you want to show, you want to represent your data with the average sum, or these kind of cases are available. So are you going to write it again? No, that is not required. Microsoft Excel is simplifying your life by providing this opportunity, or I can say this functionality with us. So we can actually directly access that text file into our data. So let's go back. We have seen that text file. I'll click on that again. So this is the preview it is providing me. In this preview, what we can see, we have the origin of the file, delimiter, customized one. Now it has identified the different columns. If you remember, the first cell is F only. That might be for the female. And the column name was not written there, so it has not taken any kind of column here. So what we can do in the transform of data, we can actually play with the data, and whatever the things you want to provide, you can provide it here. So if I click on directly load data, I'm not changing anything here. I'm not changing anything here, not the column name, not the delimiter. I'm just going with the flow with the default version, and I'll click on the load data. Once I clicked on the load data, it is taking some processing time. You can see it here. Now I have that text data in my Microsoft Excel. And by default, this Excel is helping me so much that it provided some kind of style also. I can choose different one also, but this is providing me a good color. And we have a editor as well, that is for queries and connections. So connection is already happened between birth, kings and country 2001. So see, I am just hovering my mouse here. I can see this kind of preview available where it is showing the tables preview here with all the columns. Column numbers are written, last refreshed, load status, data sources, everything is available with this sheet. You can view in the worksheet, or you can edit it, you can delete it. It's up to you. And the connection, if I click on connection right now, this was not taken from any kind of database or something. That is why it is coming zero connections. But in case of queries, we have the data from a text file, and 2500 rows are loaded with this data with a single click. So now here what I can do, this now you can see the table design. The name is already given by default. I have not provided any name. So this is a table automatically. The name is birth, king, country, and this name was taken by the same text name. So the text file's name has been taken as the table name. Now you can use the pivot table. Yes, we can do that. We can remove the duplicates. We can convert it to the range as well. The option to insert the slicer. I can export it to somewhere else also. I can refresh the data. And this we already read about header row, and we have read about the banded rows and filter button. Everything we have already covered in the table design, table style option. And similarly with this option of the load data, Microsoft Excel is gifting us some table design as well. It is not returning a simple data. So here I can now actually change the data. Let me make it gender, or maybe for this column I can have some other parameter. So I have different parameters here, so I can put it here for different answers, and accordingly I can make a data. So if I have the data, I can now use all the functions here. So let me try the sum function here for the column 7. So let me try here. I'll go it down for 2501 row. So that I can provide the total here. I will be providing a range. We are testing here whether we can try these formulas over the data taken from the different sources or not. So this time I'm giving the range as G2 to G2501. So I'm providing this complete range. Yes, we have the sum with us, so we can have the different formulas as well. I can go for the count numbers as well. I can go for the average also. I can go with the max. I can go with the minimum function, standard deviation, variance. In fact, we can try more functions as well. So all the functionality available with Microsoft Excel is also available with this loading of the data. It is not considered here, or there is no constraint how you got this data. This data is from any other source, any other database. It is from Azure, it is from any other file or CSV file. Whatever functionalities is available with Microsoft Excel, that actually you can run it here. Sorting you can do, filtration you can do. Let's try the inserting the slicer here. Slicers are interesting one. So let's try that slicer thing. I will be going with a table design, and let's have a slicer. So I can choose a particular column. Let me choose gender. In that case, if I have the gender here, I can go for the female as, and the male values as well. So whatever we already covered till this week, we can apply it here for this data set also. Now let's go back and try something for a different data now. This time, let me close this and I will be coming to a new sheet now. In this new sheet, I'll go back to my data tab and let's try something from text CSV. From that text CSV, let's try this another text file, that is bone loss. It is a scientific file of a survey done by a medical team. Now you can see here only two columns, column 1 and column 2, a small set. So by default it is detecting the data type as well based on first 200 rows. Limiter data limit delimiter is used as tab, and if I click on the load, it is processing the file, and again we have now 69 rows loaded. So once I have this query and connections tab is common for both the sheets. So in the first query, what query we have run? We have run the query to fetch the records of this text file. Then we have this bone loss file. We have 69 rows loaded here. So you can do your calculation here. So now you can think of an example that you are working with a simulator, and that simulator is passing all the result into a text file, and when you want to do some kind of analysis on that, you want to present your results with charts or graphs. So what you can do, you can directly open your text file into Microsoft Excel, and with the Microsoft Excel's functions, pivot charts, pivot tables, you can easily represent your data in a beautiful form. This is for the column 1, column 2. You can do the sorting, you can put the slicer, you can have the pivot table here, you can have the pivot charts, or normal graph you want to do, you can do it here. Now we have read about data type somewhere, so that data type we are going to cover in the transform section. First we will be expert in the loading of the data, and then we will come to the transforming of the data. Go back to the data tab and let's try here from text CSV again. This time I am taking the data 1 here. What we have in the data 1 now, it's again taking time, a very small data set. That is, we have 3 columns and some 4 rows. So we have name, ages and gender. So easily we can load that also. This time I'm running my third query here. It is processed here and 4 rows are returned to it. And preview, and I can see the thumbnail for that particular query is listed in this editor, in this window. Let me take another file as well. We are executing loading work of multiple files. This time I have FIV data. This is again a result of a survey. We can say that. Now space were provided in the text file. Let me open that file as well so that you can understand that. If I open that, so space is provided here. See, space is provided here. So that is why the first column has been taken as the blank one because of the space over there. And rest we have now column 2 to column 8, we have the values here. If I again load the data, then this fourth query will be executed here. Now we have some 654 rows loaded here. Let's go back and we have some other files as well. Don't leave that. Let's have the loading of that also. So I'll be going to this SMSA. This is the last file with me and processing is happening here. Now you can see here delimiter is tab only. Based on some first 200 rows we can actually detect the data type. Let me load that data. Query is processed for SMSA and now 60 rows are loaded. Now how many queries we have executed on this editor till now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 is already done. If you're doing any kind of changes in that text file, you just need to refresh here. So automatically Microsoft Excel will be picking the latest state of that data. It's not like that it will be based on the previous state only. It will take the latest state of the data only. So we have executed that. We have all the sheets with us. This birth king you can see here, SMSA, fifth data, data 1, bone loss. And if I go with, let's see with the fifth data, I'll go with the table design. Table name is the same name of the text file. Now filtration is provided, the same kind of table style is provided. This is the default one. Header row is there, pended row is there, filter button is there. So this is the default setting with this load button. After completing the load, what we have the next? So once you have the data, you can actually clean the data. And that cleaning comes with the transformation, load or transform. So what is the need of the data? So I have this text file. Just see in this example, this is my text file. So I can actually have this kind of a data, but there could be some changes there. Like my data provided for the month can be wrong, my year can be wrong, client ID can be repeated. So all that thing we can actually, if you want to have same kind of data, in that case you can go with the loading of the data. If you want to make changes in the data, if you want to have a good look of the data, that time we can use the transformation of the data. So we will cover now the transformation of the data. Before that, we have some other option also with the data tab. Let's quickly revise that as well. I'll click on the data tab. In the data tab, we have this get data. This we already covered. We have one option from web. This is very interesting one. Let me go to a link so that you can have a data here. I'm copying a link. I have written in this a text file. So this is the address, a URL address for a web link from where the data is already available. So what I want to do, I want to have the data from a website now. I click on from web. I just clicked on this from web, and now it is asking for a URL. URL I already copied. I will paste that URL here and I'll click on OK. And make sure your internet should be connected when you're doing this, because you are requesting the data from web. Now same preview is provided. This data source is on the web server only, and you're requesting the web server to provide you the data. Now you can see that we have multiple columns here. So this is data about the COVID. So what we have in the columns, we have date, state, positive, probable cases, negative, pending, total, result score, some other columns as well. So delimiter is comma here. Some Unicode's conversion file origin has been loaded here. So if I click on load, I can run another query this time. It will take time, and the best thing is of this web source is that from that web source, if anyone is updating the data, you will get here the refresh data only. When you click on this refresh button, you'll get the latest state of the data. So I can go through this data. So we have total 56 rows loaded. So we have tried the text file as well as we have tried from the web as well, the data sources from web. This in this data tab from web we tried, you can have the data from a table or range as well. You can link that, you can have it from the recent sources as well. So if I click on recent sources, what was my recent sources? This all we covered, right? This we covered the data from the web source. We had the data from these files. So it is showing me into the same sources, and accordingly I can have the data again. Whenever you need to do the refreshing, just click on the refresh button. It will click. See, once I clicked on the refresh all, or we can go it again to see that what is happening here. If I click on refresh all, it will be actually re-execute all the queries mentioned here. So if I click on refresh all, see here, you can see all the processing icons here. So all the 6 queries are refreshed for getting the latest state of the data from their respective sources. And if I go for any particular one, I can go with that also. If I select one, the states is selected and I'll click on refresh. So it will be updating or refreshing the states only. If I want to refresh all the sources, then I can go for the refresh all. Queries and connection, of course, we will cover. See, if I click on that, it's gone. If I click on that again, I can see it here. The properties I can set it from there. If you want to have some changes in the default version, you can do the changes from this external data properties option. After doing this, let me open a new sheet again, and we have two more interesting things of data types, stocks and geography. And believe you me, you'll be enjoy this. Let me write this thing and see the magic with the Microsoft Excel. So this is about stocks and geography. Let me close this for now. And what we can have now, I'm clicking on the stocks. Now what you need to do, let me explore something about stocks of TCS. TCS a company, it's an Indian company. I'll click on that and click on stocks. TCS is written, and after that from that data tab, stocks I have clicked. Now I got one another window here that is something like data selected, and it is loading. My internet speed is slow this time, so it is getting the data and we got the data. And the data type is stock, and we got some results here. You can see it here. Let me click on one particular one. Let me go for the second one. I don't know what it is. So this has been done here. I got some kind of result. I wrote in the cell TCS, and after that I clicked on the stocks. But in return, what I am getting something like this. But this is a hyperlink. When I clicked on that, I actually got to know about the information of the stocks of TCS. See this magic. In fact, the company's history description is also coming. Number of employees is also coming. Headquarters is also coming. Industry is also coming. You can read it here. The container store group in is a specialty retailer of a storage and organization products. It is giving the description here. Let me try for any other company also, and this time let me go for any other company. I'll go for Infosys here, or let's go for the Microsoft. Let's go for the Microsoft, and I'll click on the stocks again. Data type is stock, so it will again look for something. Data selector, and from Microsoft's website only I think we are getting the data. Again we got the hyperlink here. I clicked on that, so you can see here the stock rate for right now. For the Microsoft Corporation, price is written, exchange type is written, last trade time is written, exchange abbreviation, and all the information is available in your Microsoft Excel with a single click. You have not done anything, you have not copied it from any other source. Microsoft Excel is doing it for you. I'll be deleting this. Then we have this geography thing. What we can do with this geography? Let me write some countries here. I'll write India, I'll write Canada, I'll go with UK, and then I'll go with Germany, and maybe then France. We have France. So after doing this, I click on India and geography. Now see the magic. Again we'll get some kind of things here. Canada, again I am doing same thing. You can see here converting to a data type. I'll click on UK again. This time again I have converting to link data type. For Germany and France, let me try it in the collectively. So it's done again. Once it is done, I again got some kind of hyperlink. Now to explore those hyperlinks, let's scroll it here. I start with India. Now when I clicked on India, India's flag is there, capital is written, leader name, that is President of India Shri Ramnath Kovind, his name is written here, population is written here, area in square per kilometer is written, abbreviation, GDP, currency code, largest city, Kurehi Bahar, national anthem, official language, official name, subdivisions, life expectancy, birth rate, and so many more things are written here. And what you have done? You have just written the name of that country and clicked on the geography. So everything is written here, and in fact they have provided the data source as well from where they got the data, and Bing is doing for you. Then let's explore the Canada here. Again, Canada's flag, Prime Minister's name is written here. Now, population is written here 2019. And similarly, we have so many other things as well. Similarly, I have for the United Kingdom. Similarly, I have for the Germany. And similarly, I have for the France. And if you remember that, I have written UK here, not United Kingdom. I'll do it again. I have written here UK, and now if I click on geography, after linking it is United Kingdom. Now let me try same for USA. And if I click on USA, in that case, again, United States of America, and with the icon this time. Icon also has been provided with here. And I can go with all the links here, everything here. Let me try it for a city now. I'll be writing here maybe Delhi. And in case of Delhi, I'll click on the geography. So let's see what we have in the output. It is going with the data selector, and if I click on here, so Delhi's information is written here. Chief Minister's name is given. Another minister's name is written. Country is written. Population, area, and other things about the geography has been listed here. So this is the data type. Right now, Microsoft Excel has provided two types of data types where the Bing is providing the information, and for the working of these sources or these data types, your laptop or your system, your device should be connected to internet. Only then you can have the output here. And you can please go through this disclaimer as well. Financial market information is provided as is, and not for professional or trading purposes or advice. So the it is its terms and condition. Similarly, in the data, we have the sorting option. Sorting we already covered. Filtration we already covered. We can go for the filtration for a particular range as well. Some advanced option as well. Then we have text to column. So we can convert that text to a column as well with this data tab. Some analysis we can do that, or what if analysis. This we will cover later on, and grouping, ungrouping we covered in something in pivot table as well. So this was all about the data tab. Now it's turn to do the transformation of the data. To do the transformation, right now what I'll do, I'll delete from these sheets whatever I had from the text. I will be deleting it so that we can learn about the transformation of the data. We already learned about the loading of the data. Now it is time get to know about how we can actually transform our data with the Power Query. So Power Query, what is Power Query? Let me go back to my slide. Power Query, this tool that simplifies the process of importing data from different source files and sorting them into an Excel sheet in the most convenient and a usable format. The behind this logic, this Power Query, the language used is M. How we can go that? The same source data, and from that you need to pick for a particular source, and instead of load you can go for the transform. So who is doing all that work? The language M is doing the work. It opens in a separate window. This kind of window we will see, we will execute in Microsoft Excel as well. This is the window of Power Query, and all the transformation will be done in this window only. Once you are done with the transformation, only then you will come to the loading part of that data. So whatever changes you want to do, you'll do in this Power Query thing is in this window. And once you're done with your changes, then you will finalize it and get the data in your normal workbook or normal worksheet of Microsoft Excel with using load option. So where we can use this Power Query, we can use it for the connection to various data sources. We have the data from different sources, maybe from a web also, or you have it from any others file, you have it from a text file, and maybe you want to change the format of the data, you want to have a different kind of a decimal values, you want to show some kind of currency symbols, or you have any other requirement. That time what you can do, you can use Power Query for doing the transformation thing. You can combine the tables here, you can merge the data, you can record the applied steps here, and you can actually transform the data. You can pivot the data or unpivot the data. And in fact, you can load the direct connections as well. So let's try all this on Power Query to understand it more. Let me go back to my sheet, and this time I'll click on data, and from the text file, I will be going with the file SMSA. So it is taking the data here. It is taking processing time and preview is available. I'll not go with the load here. What I'll do, I'll click on the transform data. So once I have clicked on the transform data, a separate window is there with a good smiley, and now you can see your data here in a different window. This is different from Microsoft Excel, and this window is, you can see it here, Power Query Editor, and behind that which language is working, this is the M language. You don't need to learn this. By default in the back engine this is running, and whatever you are doing, this will be reflected in the applied status. So let's maximize this window, this Power Editor. So in fact, the queries that we have executed before, that is also shown here in the query editor. So we had the data from these all tables, and in fact, we can see it here. I can collapse this tab also for the later on, or I can minimize it. Let's see the data now. What we have in the data, we have the column city, state, Jan temperature, July temperature, and some conversion has been done, or some other columns we have. Now, what I can do, now see, just explore the option. You can, once you're done with the transformation part of your data, what you can do, you can close and load the data into Microsoft Excel. This is the Power Query Editor. You want to refresh the preview, you can refresh all. This is same like we used in the Microsoft Excel only. So it will be getting the latest state of the data from the main source. Now after that, let's try choose columns now. Now I need to choose some particular column from this data. So what I can do, I can go with the choose column. So I can go to the that particular column. Now, what column you want to choose? Let me want to have education column here. I'll click on education. So if I click on education, that particular column will be selected. So this manage column ribbon is operating the things about the managing the columns. So if you want to choose any particular column, you can choose it. If I want to keep it into one particular cursor, see Here I have clicked on that. It has given me a insert slicer like option, and there I can go for, if you want to select all columns, you just check this. If you want to go for any particular column, you can select that. So this is for the selection of a particular column, choosing a column. Now, what I want to do after selecting a column, what I can do, I can remove that column as well. Let me see this time what I want to do. I have some columns here and I don't want to keep that. I don't want to have that column into my main data. So this last column I have selected. Let me click on the remove column so I can remove the selected column. So once this is done, that column has been deleted, but you can see the applied steps here. So we got the data from source. Yes, it is done. We have the promoted headers. Yes, we have changed the type. Yes, it is done. And then by default, this work has been done. Once you are loading the data and once you are having the data in the Power Query editor, that time in the backend, you already performed these steps. Now, what I had, I removed one column. So this is saved here. That status is saved here. Applied steps. Next, I want to keep or some rows. Now, this is the same like choosing a column. Now what you want to do, you want to keep the top rows. Yes, I want to number of rows, how many rows you want to keep, that you can select here. Right now I'm not doing anything. Keep the bottom rows, keep a range of rows, or keep duplicates, or keep errors. So from that data, now you are having a minute sector of the data, and from that, how you can do that? So you can actually select the columns as well. You can have the one particular kind of rows as well. Now here, if I want to have maybe top 100 rows, I can keep that data. If I go with the second option, I can keep the last 500 rows. That is also allowed. In fact, if I click on the range of, so first rows to, so how, which from maybe I want to start from 100 rows, and then I want to have next 200 rows. So that I also can do. So this is all about the selection of the data. You can keep only the duplicate values. You want to keep the errors, you can keep that. And in the second option, we have the option to remove the rows. What you can remove? You can remove the top rows. You can remove the bottom rows. You can remove some alternative rows also. You can remove the duplicates as well, remove blank rows as well, and remove errors as well. Right now, what I'll do, I'll remove the blank rows. So once I have clicked that, again, I have applied step that blank rows has been deleted from my data. Next, let me try something else also. I want to remove the errors as well. So again, you got a one more thing in the errors. You got one more thing in the properties as well as the applied steps. After that, let me go it again. It's already tried. Let me remove the duplicates as well now. If I am removing the duplicates, my data is now, sorted again. I got some 60 records now. Only 60 records are left with me. Only the unique values. Now see, you have tried that and you can see this formula as well. Table dot distinct removed error on that city, and accordingly, so this is with the this query is with the M language. You don't need to understand that, but going through, you can learn about the logic behind everything what is happening here. You have seen that how this removed duplicate and removed error has been corrected or has been executed by language in the logic behind. After that, you have the option for the sorting as well. So you can go with the ascending or the descending order, selecting on that. Let me sort it based on the city. So I'll be selecting the complete data, or let me select the city column only. And what I can do, I can sort it in the ascending order. So this is alphabetically order. If I go to Z to A, so this is my descending order. Let me go with the AZ option only. So this is sorting I can do with this transformation only. So I don't need to go to Microsoft Excel. Also, I have this Power Query editor with much more functionalities, and after transforming of the data, I can have the correct form of the data into Microsoft Excel. Then we have the split column. So if you have got data from a text file and still you are finding that this data is not into the correct form, you can actually split the column as well, and you can split it by different options, by delimiter, by number of characters, by positions, by lowercase to uppercase, by uppercase to lowercase, by digit to non-digit, by non-digit to digit. So if these condition fits to your project or your application, you can go for that. Then we have the option for group by. I can make it a group also. Split, we understood that we have divided the columns into multiple types. In the group by, we are combining it. What you want to combine? You want to combine state to some other. This state, why it is showing the state? Because my cursor is in the state. My cell is selected cell is from the column state. That is why this state coming. Let me try anything else also. I'll go to January temperature and I'll click on the group by. This time am having the option Jan temp. I can go for other also by clicking on this drop down list. I can go with a new column name, operation, what you want to perform, and the column. So if you want to have a total, you have to have the average, everything you can do with this group by thing. Then now, data type we talked about, it was detecting the data type automatically, and what it has detected now, see, data type is a whole number for this. If I click on city, I'll go to the city. This time data type is text. If I'll go to state, data type is text. If I go to temperature, this is a whole number again. It's numbers only. And in this case, we have a decimal value as well. So this is decimal number. It is automatically detecting the data type. Data type is the type of that data, how it is storing that data. Then there is an option use first row as header. So whatever it was taken in the text file, it took it as the header of that. If I'll go for that, if I uncheck that, so some changes will be occurred here. Let me go with the simple only. So this is my header now. Header is given here. It has removed here and it has considered the first row as a column name. That is a wrong one. Let me go to this change. So if I do this, delete, this time I'll get my data like this. Promoted, I'll again delete this and I'm again changing this time and I'm again doing this to get my data back. And finally, we got it as city, state, and January temperature. So actually, you can undo your steps as well from this timeline. This steps. Anything you have tried and you think that after that this is not fitting to your data, that time you can delete that. You can undo those changes. So this is for, and you can replace the values as well from this transform. Then we have some merge queries and append queries that you can try it. But this is for here you have the data here, and here what you can choose it from any other source as well, and then you can have the combined data here from multiple sources as well. Let's go to transform now. We covered the home. Now transform, what we have, group by we covered in the home as well, and the first row as header as well. Transpose, what we can do with the transpose this table is treating rows as columns and columns as rows. This is a huge data. You should try it for a small data, like we can convert our rows to columns and columns to rows with this transpose thing. Reverse rows, invert this table rows such that that last row will be displayed in the first and the first row will be displayed in the last. This is the reversing of the row. Count rows, return the number of rows in the table. Let me click on that. So this time it is coming 60. One query is performed here, table, row count and sorted rows, and we got this data here. I'll go back to transform. Clicking on that, let me come back to my table here. My table. So number of rows here already written here. I can close and load the data in itself also. So if I click on the here, close and load data, what you will get, let's see there. I have closed the data and I'm waiting for loading the data. And the last data, what I was doing, I was working on the count of the number, and that's why this is written. So whatever was the return, what was the output of that Power Query, that I got it here. I'll go to this file again. I have clicked on that. So here my data will be presented in that Power Query editor again. I have this data. So we were covering the transform. We learned about getting the number of rows, the count of the rows. Then we have data type. We can change it to any other type as well. If I want to change it, I can change it here also. Detection is already done. If you want to rename something, rename a column, that you can also do. You can replace the values, you can fill it. You have the option to apply it to the convert to the list and convert to a column as well. Then you have the split column that you already tried. And in fact, functions, how we can forget the function. So from the statistic function, you can apply these functions. Let me go to this January temperature. So this column I have selected. This time I have option to use the functions like sum, minimum, maximum, median, average, standard deviation, count values, and count distinct functions. Let me remind you again that this Power Query is using M language, and this M language will be executing these functions on your data set, and then you will be providing will be the result. If I go to standard we have add, multiply, subtract, divide, integer divide, modulo, percentage, and percentage of. And some scientific functions we have absolute value, power to square, power to cube, power to power, square root, exponent, logarithm we have for the base 10 and the natural, and factorial also you can calculate. In the trigonometry, we have sine, cosine, tangent, arcsine, and two other trigonometry functions as well. Rounding off is allowed with round up, round down, and round. Information like this number is even in the odd, or you want to have the sign of a number. See, for the sign, what you will have the sign. If it is a positive number, then no sign will be there, or if it is a negative number, the sign will be there. You can have this date and time duration you can have in the column of the month or year as well, expand, aggregation. So this data type also you can create. Next, in the third, we have the add column. In the add column, you can actually add a new column. So you can have it from examples as well. You can customize that column as well. Conditional column also can be provided. Format can also provided. This is the good one thing. So if I want to change my complete city data into a new case, what I can do, I can change the format of the data. Let me have it in the uppercase. So my whole data will be converted to the capital one now. If I want to see this, I am doing in the adding of a column. So that's why the city is repeated into one more column, and that column is uppercase now, and still we have the city also with us. City column is also with us. We just added one more column, but this time we replicated the value of the city to a new column with the uppercase value. That is this acron you can see. Let me add something as lowercase now. So I'll be adding one more column with a city, but in this time into the lowercase. If I do it in a capitalize each word, this will be the sentence case like this. I can go with other trimming option also, cleaning also. I can add some prefixes as well. See, in the prefixes, what will happen? It will create a new column, adding a specified text value to the front of each value in the selected column. If I talk about the suffix, it's create a new column, adding a specified text value to this time, and in the end, it will add. In the prefix, we were adding a column's value in front of that word, and in case of suffix we are ending it with a particular phrase. So this is power of the format with the adding column. In the extract also we can extract the length, we can extract the first characters, last characters, we can have the range, we can have text before delimiter, we can have the text after delimiter, text between delimiters. So these all options are available with us. Let's try for this add column. Let me go to some column here, and this time I want to have a date. Date may be, let me select this, and here I want to parse something. So I'll get an error because it was not a date here. If I have provided a date over there, I can go with that. Let me click on my table again. This is an error here. So what we can do, we can have a look on other data set also. This time you can see applied steps has been changed. If I click on SMC again, this time I'll get the data here. Here it is error. That is why let me undo my changes here. Parsing, no, I'm not doing parses, and I got my data back. If you want to go through any other query also, you can click on that and you can switch to that database as well. So we covered this add column very well, date and time and duration. In the view, what we have some query settings, whatever query settings you want to do, that you can do it here. Advanced editor options is also there. You have monospaced with us, column quality, formula bar, query settings are with us. So whatever changes you want to do in that data, you can very easily do it with that transfer option. And once you are done with that, just you need to go back to home and close and load that data. And that data will be loaded into your Microsoft Excel file in the same manner it will be provided here. So we will be getting the data in the same manner here. We covered in this way what we covered. Let me go back to my slide. We covered about the connection to the various data sources. We know that how we can combine the tables, how we can merge the data, how we can record the applied steps, and in this way we can transform the data, pivot and in pivot the data, and ultimately we can load our connections here. So this query sections is handling everything. You can go with this bone loss and then you can open into the Power Query editor, and whatever changes you want to do, you can change it here. For example, here you want to change the format or something, you can do that. You are not ready to have it, you are finding something as an error, so you can apply some more functions here to correct that data, and ultimately that corrected data can be loaded to Microsoft Excel. And if then you want to have a pivot table or you want to have a chart, that time you can have it. Just revise the once again what we have covered. I'll go back to my summary. So in this session, we learned new functions and their uses. We learned about unique function. We learned about sort function, sort by function. We learned about filter function. We learned about switch function. So these functions are available in the latest version of Microsoft Office. That is why it is known as the new function. We learned about the use of array functions, that with the array function we can have the complete range with us. Then we learned about the importing of data using Power Query, data connections with files, data transformation using Power Queries. So let's revise the Power Query, this data tab again. Data can be taken from multiple sources. So we covered the taking data from file. We did practice with the text files. Importing you can practice it with other sources as well. We can have it from the databases, different databases. You can have it from the Azure as well, and you can refresh the data every time to get the latest state of the data. Then we learnt about the stock and geography. You can write your keyword here and then click on the stock and geography. The data through the search engine Bing will be provided to your Microsoft Excel related to stocks or geography. You can sort the data, you can filter the data, you can change it to the text to column. And after that, once you are selecting the data, before loading, you have the option to transform also. And for that transform, what we are doing, we are actually using the M long language over here. And we have the option, we have different options here to transform our data here. We can use choose column, we can remove the columns, and for the rows also we have options to keep particular rows. You can keep the particular top rows, particular bottom rows, or you can go for a particular range as well. You can remove the rows. Sorting can be performed here, splitting of the column can be performed here, data can be grouped here. You can check the automatic detection of the data type, and if you want to change it, you can do it with the transform. Here in the home, you will be shown here the existing status of the data, and if you want to make some changes, you can do it with the transform tab. And similarly, when we go to transform, there we have the group by changing option, changing the row header option. We have the option to change the data type. We want to rename our column, we can do that. We want to split the column, we can do that. Format also we can change here. Also we can have the lowercase value, uppercase value, capitalize each word. We want to trimming, we want clean the data, that cleaning can also be performed here. Prefixes can be provided, suffixes can be provided. We can extract the data as well. Length you can have, first characters, range you can have, you can apply some functions as well. This is all with the transformation. And in the functions, we have the option for statistic function, standard function, scientific function, trigonometric function, rounding off function, and some information based function. You can have the date time as well, duration as well for the time stamp. And if you want to add a column, you can add that column as well. And in the view, you can change the setting of this editor, this Power Query editor. and you can easily move on different data set with this query editor. And this query settings editor and is showing the applied steps with us, so you can undo any changes by clicking on that, and whatever steps you're performing on that data set for the transformation, that will be listed here in this applied steps window. Once you are done with the data transformation thing, you can close and click on the load. That data will be given to your Microsoft Excel file. Everything will be provided in that data. So this is all about this week. We covered so many things here. We covered very important function, new functions, and Power Query. And if you think about the Microsoft Excel data analysis, Power Query is very useful tool. You have much more functionalities, and ultimately you can have the data from multiple sources in your Microsoft Excel. That's all for this week. Thank you.